This is a 2008 Audi R8, and I'm sure you could tell by its incredible styling, but it is one of the best cars that Audi has ever produced in the history of their lineup. You see, I want to emphasize that it's Audi's car specifically, not a joint venture between Audi and Lamborghini like the later models, which have a Lamborghini Gallardo V10 engine and then a modified version of that later down the line. Under the bonnet is a 4.2-liter V8 engine that I'm going to talk a ton about later in the video, but one of the cool highlights about it is that it's from the Audi B7 RS4, which is extremely rare in the United States, and there are about only 2,000 running on the roads today. That engine, though, it's exactly what's in this car, and it's one of the reasons I love it so very much. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what makes this car so special, talk about some of the reasons why it's such a unique and cool car to own, and suggest to you why you should come down to RPM Garage today to check it out and maybe even buy it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this car has a ton of cool features that I just absolutely have to tell you all about. The first of which, though, is this styling and exterior, which follows the pattern of all of our videos, but this car has a truly spectacular exterior that just has to be talked about. There's so many space-age features to this car, including the carbon fiber side panel blades, these incredible 19-inch Audi alloys, and of course the aftermarket suspension that has this thing lowered perfectly to the ground. The fitment is absolutely perfect, and I love everything about how this car looks. That in mind, I think it's an obvious choice for Iron Man and the Marvel franchise. It makes perfect sense as a car, especially with its space-age looks and all of the cool design features that would obviously catch the eye of a technology-oriented billionaire. This car itself, the 4.2-liter Audi R8 V8, made an appearance as Tony Stark's first Audi R8 in the first Iron Man movie, and I think that was a brilliant decision, and every time I look at this car I cannot believe that it is a 2008 because it looks so much newer and so much more space-age than even new cars today. With great styling, of course, comes the responsibility of the manufacturer to make some great power under the bonnet, and Audi has absolutely delivered on that promise. Under the hood is a 4.2-liter Audi-designed naturally aspirated V8 engine, the same engine, in fact, that is, like I said before, out of the B7 RS4. Now, that car is extremely limited in both production, and it's insanely hard to find in the United States. In fact, there are only about 2,000 running models at any given time right now, and it's insanely difficult to get your hands on one. That being said, that power plant, if that's what you're looking for, is the exact same in this car, and that is why I love it so very much. This engine produces 420 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough in a car that weighs 3,400 pounds, which is really not a lot. That power is sent through a 6-speed shiftable automatic that has a ton of cool features and is actually a $9,000 option on this car over the manual transmission. That being said, all that power is put through Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system, and you know already that that is insanely instant when it comes to delivering power. This car accelerates like nobody's business, and it's super fun to drive. Now, there are actually interesting ways to shift this car. Going back to that automatic transmission, you actually get two choices when it comes to shifting besides the standard automatic. The gear stick itself can be pushed forward or pulled backward like a sequential gear shifter, and there are actually paddles on the steering wheel. Now, I'll show you that a little bit more in the interior later on, but it's an insanely cool feature, and it kind of justifies that $9,000 price tag. Now, my work has led me to do a lot of things with extreme cars, but one of my biggest gripes and complaints about anything of this caliber is usually the amount of storage space that the car offers. In most cases, there's minimal storage space, and you'd be lucky to fit more than a backpack or two in the hood or the trunk or even the interior of the car itself, especially if you have any passengers. Audi, though, has given this a ton of consideration, and there's actually plenty of space under the front trunk. Now, Jeremy Clarkson himself in a Top Gear episode described this as one of the most livable supercars that has ever been produced, and I actually couldn't agree more with him. In here, there is more than enough space to fit a large amount of things, including all of my camera equipment, plus some other great things, and I would be more than happy to take this on a road trip, and I'd feel very comfortable with the amount of things I could bring because of all the storage space both in the front and actually behind the two seats in the car. There's a large amount of space between them and the engine. Now, like I said, Audi has given this car a ton of consideration, which is why it's such a great car to own. Every detail has been looked at and thought over and carefully designed to be perfect. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little more when we get into the interior. Like I just said, this car has been given a ton of consideration when it comes to the features that it has and the amenities that come with it. This car has been fully decked out in the interior, and that's so evident by just sitting in it. These leather bucket seats are really comfortable to be in, but they're super supportive under hard cornering. And the Audi Navigation Plus system offers you a rear camera, navigation, phone connectivity, and so many other features, which is insanely futuristic given that this car was built 13 years ago as of right now. A couple other cool features are all the little carbon fiber trim pieces that are scattered throughout the interior. They look insanely cool, and it really helps make you feel like you're in a true supercar. That being said, so do the Audi R8 gauges and this awesome sports steering wheel with those paddle shifters that I mentioned earlier. Now, I truly love being in this interior, and it really does feel like you're in a space-age supercar, which is why I completely get why Tony Stark owned so many of these in the Iron Man franchise. My absolute favorite thing about this car, though, is the feeling that I get when I'm behind the wheel of it. Every time I drive it, I'm always left not wanting a single thing more than what I've gotten, yet I always want so much more when I drive it. Let me explain. I always know with this car exactly what I'm going to get. It is insanely consistent both in its fast power delivery, its quick steering, and its insanely speedy acceleration. But that being said, that exuberant feeling that I get when I'm driving the car is something I want to experience more and more and more, and so I always wish that I could spend more time behind the wheel of this car than I actually get to do. Now, there are a couple other cool things that I haven't yet mentioned when it comes to this car. The first of which is the price. Right now, it's for sale for $69,991, which is really good value for one of these cars, especially given that it had an MSRP of $140,000, if not more than that, and that doesn't include the aftermarket modifications that have been made. So I touched on those briefly earlier in the video, but I wanted to break them down just a little bit further for you right now. The first of which is the suspension. So I talked briefly that it has been lowered on coilover suspension, but that just makes the turning feel even more quick, and it's such an agile car to drive. Additionally, more on the cosmetic side of things, it's got a Maxton design front lip, some carbon fiber canards and side skirts, and an aftermarket exhaust that sounds incredible on this 4.2 liter V8. Now, bear in mind, this car sounded absolutely staggering before, but it sounds even better now, and I absolutely love it. So, of course, I will have a startup for you at the end of the video. Lastly, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time today to watch this video, and I hope you'll all consider liking, sharing, and maybe even subscribing to the channel for more content like this. I hope each and every one of you will check out our Instagram and our TikTok. They'll be linked in the bio below. And that you'll also look at our inventory on our website, because we have a ton of cool cars like this, and you should definitely come check them all out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.